up, everybody? Welcome to this episode of Campus Cuts. I'm your host, Tanaka Tava, and today I have a wonderful, super exciting guest. She is a UPenn graduate. No, UPenn graduate.
Yeah.
And as a product designer, fashionista, low-key fashion mogul, and she is the founder of the online marketplace, RE.STATEMENT. I'm super happy to introduce Hannah M. Lee. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Tanaka. Thank you so much. Now I'm excited. After watching that intro video. That was good. That was really nice to see. Thank you so much for having me on today.
So basically, for anybody that's who's new to the Campus Cuts podcast, Campus Cuts is a multicultural, intergenerational show that brings together students, faculties, politicians, entrepreneurs, founders, and people from all walks of life to chop it up in the virtual barbershop. So I started Campus Cuts at college when I was a junior at Baylor University, and is inspired by LeBron James to shop, where he got all these type of people to shop it up just to have barbershop talk, a safe space where they can talk about the world, culture, society, or anything that's on their hearts and minds. And so, Hannah, obviously you are an entrepreneur, you are a founder, and I really wanted to create this space as an opportunity for you to share your story because I was moved when we connected at the Ion. And I just really think that you're really dope, and I just want you to share what you got going on. So, but of course, I gave you my intro. What is your intro? Where we're gonna start? What's your name? Where you're from? What are you doing? And where you graduated? And move on from there.
That's a lot of information, Tanaka, but I'm so here for it. Okay, so again, I'm Hannah M. Lee. I'm the founder of RE.STATEMENT, which is the online marketplace for unique upcycled clothing. I started this company, February, March, April, May, almost 3 months ago. And since then, we've seen a ton of exciting progress that's very motivating in keeping me continuing this journey on. Before that, I was in the startup world working in product management and marketing at ed tech and social impact companies. Of course, I graduated from the University of Pennsylvania with a degree in new product development and marketing. And I'm actually going back there this weekend. Tanaka, I was telling you about this earlier, but going up there this weekend for my official postponed commencement. So that's gonna be really fun, really making my parents proud. So
I said, yo, congratulations. That's really dope.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay, so how does it feel to go back to where you started your collegiate career? How does that feel?
I guess we'll find out this weekend, right? I think, first of all, my friends and I are really excited about it, thinking about how far we've come along in the last 2 years alone, because when the pandemic hit, it was March 2020, we were all kicked off campus. A bunch of my friends went home to their parents. I found Airbnbs, like various locations in the US. And just to see how far my friends and I have come in the last 2 years is incredible. I'm incredibly proud of my friends and seeing how much they've grown. And it's going to be really nice to experience that over a drink in our old college bar.
Yeah. That's going to be dope. And of course, we did go through a pandemic in those last 2 years where I think it was a reset and a refresher for a lot of people. And so what are some of the ways that you feel like the pandemic opened your eyes during your, as you've grown these past 2 years?
Yeah, so I think the pandemic really gave me a view of where my privilege is. I felt very fortunate to be in the state of mind that I had, the location I was in, and the flexibility and the freedom I had. I think if someone told 18-year-old Hannah that she'd be able to work from home literally wherever, whenever she wanted, she wouldn't believe you, right? But to land that job right before actually graduating, because the world is forced to quarantine and isolate, I feel like I got lucky out of this. But because I feel lucky that one, I'm healthy, two, my parents, family, and friends are healthy, I really like to check kind of how I'm feeling and seeing, okay, what can I do with this advantage that I've been given, this privilege that I've been given, and try to be more mindful of that every day.
Mm, mm. Wow. And then so now you understanding that privilege. What does privilege mean to you? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, because of course, especially in a time where we're in society where a lot of people are saying, "Oh, you're privileged," and this person's not privileged, right? Or whatever you build, you're building a company or anything like that. Like, where do you feel like that sense of privilege Comes from?
Yeah. So I think privilege comes from the idea of gratitude, right? And just realizing that all that you have, I mean, I'm not sure if you were around at the Ion when I was talking about the display booth I had for restatements table, but I was calling myself privileged because I was like, oh, this tablecloth is from my mom's alterations business. I didn't have to pay $1 because she had just saved these fabrics for God knows how long. I called that privilege, right? But looking back, anyone could have seen it a different way. If you had grown up with me and realizing my mom worked 3 jobs when I was a baby, like that, it's all about how you see it and how you view it, right? So from there, just recognize your own privilege comes from just being grateful for what it is that you have and really using it to get where you want to be and bringing others up with you as well.
Right. Where did that mindset cultivate? How did you cultivate that mindset? Because not a lot of people have that mindset of trying to lift as you climb, right? Especially in this world, it's kind of like dog eat dog. But you're always about like trying to I checked out your Twitter feed and whatever, like your posts and whatever. You're like, you get like you're on that motivational stuff because I'm on that stuff as well. But it's just like, how did you cultivate that, in your life and I guess that resilience, right?
Yeah. Did you see the memes I follow as well? Because those are pretty
I
crazy.
mean, yeah, some of the memes are fine.
But to answer your question, Tanaka, yeah, okay. How did I get into the mindset of bringing others up with me?
Yeah.
I remember being in high school, and there was a quote it was like, "It's very lonely at the top," or something like that. And I was so cocky, and I was just like, "Oh, like that's gonna be me whenever I'm up there. Yeah, it'll be lonely, but that's just how it's gonna be." But the reality is, what if it didn't have to be that way? What if I could bring others up with me? Because, I wouldn't be anywhere without the people around me. They're the ones motivating me. They're the ones supporting me. They're the ones who are offering me the resources, the love that is going to get me there. Why would I not bring them with me? Because all of my success, I owe it to them. And going back to that quote, the quote that it's lonely being at the top or whatever, you don't want to be lonely. You want to have fun. You want to bring the cool people with you.
Cool people. Who is cool people?
anyone who can who is cool people? Huh. Just anyone,
Yeah, right.
anyone you want to have a second conversation with.
Mm.
That's the basis qualifier.
Okay, basis qualifiers, cool people. I like that though. Because again, like everybody's like, oh, what's the definition of cool? I was actually listening to a song today. I want to be cool, right? And then
Yeah.
it's like, what does it mean to be cool? Because everybody, when you think of the cool kids, you usually think of the kids that, or the cool people who are the ones that people aspire to be, who are more isolating, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're in how you want your mission, how you want to live your life is kind of the antithesis. Like it's the opposite of that, right? Because you want to bring everybody to the top, you know. So
Mm-hmm.
it's just kind of funny because when we think cool is like, yeah, I'm cool. But then when you realize that the cool people are the ones that are not are I think in my opinion what it means to be cool is to be your true authentic self, right?
Mm-hmm. For sure. The people who
That's
bring out the best in you, the people who are inspiring you, motivating you to continue doing what it is that you want to be doing, feel like you're made to do, those are cool people. Keep them around. Anyone you want to keep around a little more often, I think they're pretty cool.
yeah. Now that's a pretty cool answer.
I'm taking notes. I'm like, oh, okay, like this is good.
Yeah, no, really. But diving into that, like you try and like getting the people that who do bring the best out of you, right? As you have been navigating post COVID and post pandemic, what were some of the things, or who are some of the people that you feel like that have been there for you through your founder journey or through your transition with your company? Because I know it's not easy. It's
Mhm.
not easy, but
Mhm.
you know, and how did you cultivate that?
Yeah. Um, I think first and foremost, my parents for sure. Um, we had a very interesting relationship growing up, especially in my high school days, because I would see how much I could get away with doing without them knowing. So growing up, like finally going to college and then graduating college has been a delightful experience for my family because now I can actually tell them things.
Oh
And
my gosh, the typical first generation American experience.
but I really hope my parents don't listen to this podcast. But it's but whether they knew about it or didn't know about what I was doing at the time, they've been there through it. They would experience, having dinner with me, whether it is I'm saying something directly about what I'm doing or holding back from that information. They're there to support me. And then in college, calling them every day after my classes, having them around just to hear how their day went. It really grounded me into figuring out why I'm doing all this, and who I owe it to at the end of the day for me to be there. Because honestly, my parents, they've literally been with me since day one. So it it reminds me of this thought where it's just like, you as an individual, you're the only person who's going to be around yourself from birth to death. But second runner up, I'd say would be my parents for sure. So they've been my biggest supporters in this, telling them about restatement and really hearing their thoughts, getting them to understand it has been an awesome experience, and getting their full support on it has meant the world to me.
Oh, that's incredible. So you got the green light, or so when you talk about the experience of you telling them about it the first time, I'm very curious to know how was that.
Yeah. So this was really exciting for me because the build up for it, I was like, oh my God, this is the first entrepreneurial endeavor I've actually told my parents about. Mostly because this is probably the first one where I truly see myself going a little longer than a year or two with. We'll get into that story later. But um, getting the story around my head, getting ready to go to dinner with them. I visit my parents' house like on Sundays for dinner, so having great Vietnamese food, and I'm kind of sorting out the message in my head. And I realized like this is kind of one of the easier businesses for my parents to understand because I think I mentioned my mom has done alterations all her life. So I would explain it like, okay, so mom, remember how you made 1,000 face masks in April 2020? These are people who are also making things out of used or unwanted materials, who have just as much talent as you do, and they deserve to get the validation, recognition, and money that they deserve as well. And then comparing with eBay and marketplaces that are online that they're familiar with. My parents loved eBay when I was little, so it made a total sense for them. And then getting their questions was a very valuable part of it too, because it helped me understand kind of where I needed to clarify who's the audience I'm speaking to, when I should say certain things. So that's been really helpful. And then updating them weekly on what I'm doing has been really exciting as well.
Oh, that's actually that's really incredible. That's really incredible. Wow, wow. And then so as you have now transitioned in this thing, like in this project, you mentioned how all right. So did you have other previous entrepreneur endeavors that in like so what do you feel like is the difference between those other ones? I would love to know. And then after that, now you're transitioning to what you're doing now.
Yeah. So I think there are multiple entrepreneurial hats that I wear. It's like such a typical Silicon Valley thing to say, but, you know, day job Hannah is, doing product management and marketing at a startup that is not hers. Like, and that's something I take full responsibility of, but, I'm doing what I can, whatever stakeholders are involved to get them where they want to be. That's marketing product for someone else, Hannah. The Hannah that is entrepreneurial, doing her own thing, is very much seeing how much she can do in a given amount of time and a given amount of resources. So, starting back, I mean, where should I start on this? I guess the one that closely relates to restatement and is a big part of why restatement exists today was my subtly inappropriate clothing brand, literally called Ungodly Things. And it was very much it was quite a trip. So I think I started that maybe sophomore or junior year of college.
Yeah.
And it, number one, it really it helped me make the best use of my time, because I'd be like in my class very respectfully listening to the professor, of course, but also drawing on my tablet to stay focused, of course. But these designs would be whatever it is I'd be thinking about, whatever it is that pissed me off that day, or whatever it is, whatever Bumble message I got like during the class, like those sorts of sources would be my inspiration for this subtly inappropriate brand. And from there, got by enough to pay the bills, got close enough to almost disappointing my parents, but of course I'm not telling them these things so they wouldn't know.
Yeah, you almost dropped out. So it was kind of that nasty gal. So then, the nasty gal?
Yeah. The clothing brand, right?
Yeah, by Sophia Amoroso. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You almost dropped out because you were doing something.
No. I'm worth way more with my degree than without. But what I was doing there was just, expressing some thoughts that I had in my head that other people resonated with. It kind of got out of hand at times because I started attracting people who were less subtle and more inappropriate. And I was like, oh no, Hannah, this is a bad look. Don't. This cannot continue. But what really got me to quit on Ungodly Things was really questioning the value of an additional piece of quirky clothing on the environment, right? So the manufacturing process we had, it was very much print to order. The control over the materials was quite limited because of the profit margins I had at the time, because of the low small batch numbers that we had. But I was just like, okay, this shirt's really cute, or this tote bag's really cute, but what is this worth? Like, do I really want, grandma at the nail salon to notice me if she's looking me for long enough and to get her reaction from this? Or would I rather focus on other things I can be doing for the planet and for the people that are on it? And so from there, I axed Ungodly Things and I focused back on school. And of course, I got kind of bored of that. So I started researching a lot of social impact startups, talking to mission-driven or B Corp companies and seeing how they're doing their businesses, why they're doing what they're doing, and how that's bringing meaning into their lives. So that was the start of my company called The Good Startup, which was literally just a publication about startups that are saving the world. And the role I had there was showing people that their jobs could be meaningful. And I think a big part of that was just convincing my friends not to sell out at the time. But that's more of my personal reason for it, because I'm looking after them. But The Good Startup was an incredible part of the journey that has led me to Restatement today, because it showed me, okay, if these companies exist, what's my excuse not to be either one, joining them, or two, doing my own thing. So the good startup has been phenomenal for that. I actually got tired of writing and putting together interviews, which is not the best excuse ever. But I remember it was, May, June 2020, after I had, bust my head open and got like a traumatic brain injury, after falling off a bird scooter in Austin, where I came back into the Good Startup. I was just like, I kind of don't want to write anymore. Like, I kind of don't want to do this.
So you got that revelation after you busted your head open.
Yeah. So
Wow. Okay.
yeah, and then part of me was just like, "Damn, Hannah, what if you had just continued writing? Like, that'd be so twisted, but awesome." But, fortunately, I've recovered, but,
Yeah, yeah.
mostly from there, I had this realization that I was just like, I'm in no state to be telling people what's meaningful and what's not meaningful in their lives, right? Like if you are doing something that you feel is making a difference in this world, whether it is, you're saving lives or, just hanging out and creating your own business, like whatever it is you're doing, it counts. And so I felt like the good startup really had no place in telling people what it is they should be doing, because a lot of the feedback I had gotten was like, what should I be doing with my life? How do I find a more meaningful job? How do I do this? How do I do that? What ethical philosophy should I follow? Like, I'm not qualified to be answering any of those questions, but I tried, right? My best to
And how old
guide
were
people.
you? Like 21 at the time?
20, 21? Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. 22, maybe? Yeah, it was good course of time.
Wow. But then, so you canceled that startup because you said you felt like you were in no position to tell people what to do.
Right. Right.
Hmm.
I still felt like, and maybe the brain injury had something to do with it, but I feel like I have so much life left to live before I'm start giving people life advice, right? Um,
I disagree. I disagree. I no. I mean, because again, the reason why I disagree is because I think it's based off of experience, like your lived experience. Because
mhm,
everybody has different lived experiences or like gone through different paths, and
mhm,
you can give advice based on how and what you lived, especially through your experiences, yours, your own. It's valid and it's needed,
mhm,
right?
mhm.
And I think,
Yeah.
and that's why it's you're doing what you're doing now because you have a viewpoint that you feel like is valid, and especially that does stand for something.
Yeah, yeah. And so I guess to correct what I had said earlier, where it's like I gave up on the good start because I felt like I was in no place to tell people what to do with their lives. Maybe the reality is I just didn't want to.
Yeah, and that's okay. And that's okay.
Yeah, because it's a matter of like why I didn't want to, right? And it comes from the root cause of it was just like, what if I would discourage them from doing something that they truly wanted to do? Or what if I discouraged them from doing something that they were really good at doing? And I didn't know them, and I definitely don't know them nearly as well as I know me.
Mhm.
So who am I to really tell them where to get their next job? Usually I just send them to the B Corp website and tell them to find a job on there. But my attention wasn't where it should have been with the good startup. And maybe one day we can come back. Website's still up and running, but until then, I want to see myself do something really good for the world, before I start collecting more information on everyone else.
Yeah, and I think that's a really healthy way to do it because I felt like I've gone through something similar too. I was posting motivational TikToks and all that stuff, and then everybody and their mom was texting me for advice, and I'm like, like you feel that weird pressure and the obligation of like, oh, you're coming to me because I posted content which acts like I think I know what I'm doing, but really I don't know what I'm doing.
And then every time you tell them that online, they don't believe you.
They don't believe you. They're like, no, but like you're viral.
It's like, oh my God. Like, yeah, yeah.
Mm. Oh, that's really good. And I wanted to touch back on a point of what you said earlier, and about like why you possibly preventing people from doing what they want to do. Like, do you feel like obviously you're 24, you're young, fresh, but like, do you feel like you know what your purpose and your calling is?
How did you know I was 24?
You told me that last time, girl.
Oh my God. Um,
I have a pretty solid memory.
Memory of an elephant. Sorry, what was the question? I forgot.
So do you feel like
Memory of a
you?
goldfish. So,
Yeah. Do you? Yeah. But do you know? Do you have a good feeling of your calling, and your purpose in life? If you feel like that you've gotten a step closer, or because as you touched about that a little bit, like telling people what they should do or whatever. But like, do you feel like you know what you want to do?
Yeah. I think those are kind of two separate questions in my mind. Like
Yeah,
like what my calling is versus
your
what it
purpose.
is I want to do, right?
Yeah, yeah.
What I want to do is just talk to strangers every day, hang out, travel, see and learn things that I hadn't learned before. All of those things definitely fit into what I'm doing as an entrepreneur now, but also into what my calling might be. The calling is kind of the more vague response for you here. So, do I know what my calling is? Absolutely not. I'd be scary if I did. But I think every day I come to work and I'm excited about it. It's kind of a hint for me to know that I'm getting closer to finding it.
That is actually really good. That's a really solid answer. Going into the club. But then you said the way that you said the hint to finding it, right? Do you feel like it's like a destination, or do you feel like it's an everlasting journey?
Yeah. The reality is it's definitely everlasting, right? And but if I see it as a destination and then as I never get there, it's just more motivation for me to keep the ambition on fire. Does that
Yeah,
make sense?
yeah,
Yeah. Um,
absolutely.
so getting hints, like these little rewards that are like, Hannah, you're getting excited about this. Like you are making an impact on people. You are creating. You are helping designers design. Like this is awesome. And every day I get to be more and more excited about it. The closer I am to reaching this never reachable idea of what my calling is.
Mm-hmm. Mm. That's such a beautiful place to be. That is such a beautiful place to be. So how do you manage everything that you? I mean, of course, like oh, yeah. That is a beautiful place to be because again, not a lot of people even have the opportunity, the privilege, or chance to even think like this, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
It is. Go on ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. So I guess when it comes to all the things that are going on around me, I think it just comes down to just being really present and just, you know, sucking it up and saying like, this is how my life is today, and this is what I'm working towards. Um, Living in the moment, but also building in the moment to get to a better tomorrow. Although still not knowing if tomorrow is ever going to come, right? So from there, it's if I were to only do that, to be honest, it would be kind of draining. So there are times where I'll come up with, multiple ideas of what my calling could be and playing around with those thoughts. Or I wouldn't call it a calling per se, but it's more of like a legacy, right? So getting in your lasting impact or your mark on the planet. It's just like painting a picture of what that looks like. And sometimes it's like, okay, like Hannah Emily did this and this was awesome and this is the cool product she put in the world. And other times it's Hannah Lee went to jail because like she got too drunk at like this Vegas casino. Like it can be like multiple different legacies,
Yeah,
right? But playing
yeah.
around with those ideas in my head are just fun ways to stay entertained when the day to day can be a little draining.
Oh yeah. Of course, of course. And so, what do you do to make sure you spice up your day to day? And what do you do? And the second question is, what do you do to stay present? How do
Yeah.
you stay?
Yeah. So spicing up and staying present. So in college, I think I'm someone who gets bored very easily, right? So in college, I would tell myself go on one adventure a day, like whatever it is. Just if you go on a run, count it. That's an adventure. If you just you know you don't leave your house, but you find a really cool new YouTube channel, that's an adventure. Count it. Like that's awesome. But just that mindset of doing one small thing a day as an adventure was kind of how my mindset for living in the moment started, right? So for now, like these days it's like, okay, what's something new you're going to learn today? Or who's someone you're going to reach out today that you either haven't talked to in a while or, want to hang out with, or someone like that. Like, what's your adventure today? And doing those are things that mean so much to me. And so from there, it's like, I'm doing this for me. Like, I'm not doing this for the company I'm working for. I'm not doing this for my own company. I'm not doing this for, mom, dad, my brother. I'm not doing this for friends. I'm doing this for me. And it's kind of fun to be a little selfish once in a while, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, but just really forcing yourself to do the things to take care of yourself. Like there have been weeks where it's just like, no, I really can't. I can't lift my head up from this computer because I'm like face down. I need to like, do all these projects and stuff like that. But sometimes it's just about forcing yourself, like, okay, do all you can up until 5:30. But then from there, whether you're done or not, or however much you have left to do, you need to get up and go outside, like, or you need to get up and make yourself dinner or something like that.
That's really good. That's really good. I'm just even thinking about today for me. I was thinking, man, I need to work out, but I worked out hard Sunday, Monday. I did yoga Tuesday, and then today I feel like I'm going to go out in the park, and after that sleep.
Yes.
and after that workout tomorrow. But again, it's just like,
yes. That's what you're doing for you today, and I'm going to keep you so accountable for doing that today. Did you do it already, or are you doing this after the call?
I'm gonna do it after. I'm gonna do it after.
Okay,
like,
of course. Okay.
Go outside in the park.
Stay on the call and go to the park. So we all know that you.
No, I do it for me, and if I don't do it, then I have to live with the consequences.
That's true.
Okay, I really like how you said that, because again, like, there's so many. So again, you are an operator yourself. You're operating in a startup. You have your family. You have your obligations. You have your significant other. There's always so much happening, and you want to do so much. But then it's just like, you finally have done. Did it take you a long time to be able to choose yourself, or was that something that you always knew? Like, yeah, I got it.
So that's an interesting question. And my first answer would be like, yeah, but the reality is it's not like that, right? So I think this mindset all started in college, and walking into college, like, I knew the whole point of me going to Penn was to hang out with people who were better than me. So I can learn from, grow with, and be motivated by people who would push me to be more ambitious, more driven, and do more shit, So from there, I was like, okay, let's hang out with these super cool students and see what happens. And when I got to campus, what was really interesting was like everyone there was very much, head down on the laptop, like their laptops, grinding, studying. I remember like a few years ago, there was like a moderate protest going on because they would shut down one of the study halls after 12 a.m. And like thinking back, like, that's insane, right? Like, like the school just wants you to go to sleep. Like, why do you need to be in the lounge at 3 a.m. to study? Like, what does that mean? What is that getting you? And then just realizing how normal that was, I was like, wait. Like, this can't be it, And so that's where like the focus on me came in. I was just like, okay, if everyone else is focused on doing things and not really knowing why they're doing it, or not really pushing their goals, like, I don't want to be doing that. So I'm going to do the opposite of that, which is sitting out on the grass whenever Philadelphia was above 65 degrees, or like going on a run for like what felt like all of my Sundays usually, because I'm a really slow runner, to go on a run and just, let off steam and then come back. Like, no one else is doing that. And I'm like saying this like tons of people did, but just what it felt like at the time was just people were focused on studying and getting their jobs, whereas I was like, no, that's cool. I'm betting on my success, and if I'm betting on my success, you know, going outside isn't going to hurt me and my success. So let's just focus on me today.
That's really good. I love that, and I know that this is going to help somebody who's just as ambitious and driven as you be able to take a rest, right? Because I'm the same way as well. I'm just so ooh, and then sometimes it's just like, bro, I gotta learn how to take a step back, because understanding that when we do take a step back and when we do rest, because
Yeah.
honestly, like every great athlete, like I'm trying to be like LeBron James, 37. They're like he's 30, he's damn near 38 years old, 20 years in the league, but he's still performing at a high level because he knew when to rest. And it's
Yeah.
just like you can't perform at a high level if you don't rest. And I feel like that's kind of like the one of the things in startup culture, or as an entrepreneur, or as a creator or designer, we got to keep on going. We got to keep on going. But
Mhm.
then how like you won't be able to be at your highest optimal level if you don't rest. Like you can't like be creative and like work out and all that stuff. And it's just kind of like, yo, like it's okay to rest.
Yeah, no, I love that because it's the reality is, going 120% every day for as long as you can versus 100 or even 95% every day for as long as you can. One is going to significantly last longer than the other for you, but then to the people around you, they're not going to recognize the difference
Right.
because it's all in your head what it is that you are capable of doing, what you should and should not be doing. And so at the end of the day, like it's important, incredibly important to take care of yourself, but also just to have fun in the moment. And like, I think this comes down to just having so much confidence in your success, whatever that success may be for you, and knowing that nothing's going to get in your way of that, especially not yourself, especially not yourself. So just to trust yourself and like knowing that, hey, I'm going to go to the gym today, or hey, I'm going to go have a drink with my friend I haven't seen in a long time today, because that's what I want to do. And that's not going to get in the way of what it is that I want to be doing in the future.
Yeah. So what does success mean to you?
Yeah, that's such a loaded question. Oh my God. So the same idea of reaching the calling, like I think the idea of success doesn't, an actual firm idea of what success looks like doesn't exist for me, at least not anymore. In high school or middle school or something, whatever my idea of success was, turns out it was just too easy. So I was just like, come on, like you're already
Really?
like, like I'd be like, hey, dream bigger, like figure this out. And like, because whatever it is you were aspiring to do back then and has me to where I am today, like you should have just dreamed bigger. Because I think the like success is just, it's never, they always say like satisfaction is the enemy of success, right? So I feel like to be satisfied or pleased with anything has you like streaming farther away from what success truly is. So if you have an idea of what that success is, it means you're kind of content with what that is, and therefore it's not your true success, right? So loaded answer to a very loaded question.
Yeah. So what was your success? What did success mean to you at 19? Because again, you were at an environment where you're
Yeah.
driven and whatever, like you're around whatever, and now obviously it sounds like you're at a completely different place mentally.
Yeah. So 19-year-old Hannah, let's see, that was uh, sophomore year of college, right? Honestly, all I wanted was to be doing anything that was far from an office job. I wanted to either freelance or start up my way. I think I just read like 4-hour work week too, so that fucked me up. I was like, oh my god. So because that book was like pretty hot during that time. But yeah, I was like, oh my god, if I can be a beach bum and save the world, like let's do it. If I can work from anywhere, let's do it. And now look at us. Everyone's working from home. And like, come on. So if like, I could tell 19-year-old Hannah something, like 19-year-old Hannah should ask for like castles all over the world and like ask to like figure it out. Cause that was basically the gist of what I was going for at the time, with some cool things here and there. I know that I promised my AP World History teacher a Harley Davidson motorcycle. And now I like every so often I look them up and I'm just like, oh my god, that's it? Like that? What? Like, that's all I have to do? I just need to put together a few paychecks to like figure that all out. Like, and that's easy. Like, why wouldn't I? Why wouldn't I do that? And it's just like, why has no one gotten him a Harley yet? Like, and so yeah, I hope that answers your question. I don't remember.
That does answer my question. That does answer my question. Oh, that's good. I mean, I had a good time, and so I want to be respectful of your time, and because I know that you got a lot going on. So these are the last couple questions that I usually ask my guests to transition out the episode. So my first one, obviously, you're out here trying to save the world with sustainability, but I guess I kind of answered my question. But what would you like to see change in the United States? One thing that you would like to see change personally.
Yeah. Personally, I think communication and information has a long way to go. And I think whether it is we're relying on our media sources, relying on our government, or just relying on someone you get into the Uber with or someone you meet on the subway, like whoever it is you are talking to, you want to be able to trust them. And to trust them, there needs to be a good flow of communication and information that's going across. And there needs to be a fine separation between what we think reality is and versus what our opinions are. So I think that's like one of the first steps we would do, is just to draw that fine line where it's like, okay, yeah, New York Times, this is your opinion article versus your editorial, but they're kind of blending in these days. So let's go back to separating that, just so people know that this is someone's thoughts versus this is someone's lived experience, and they're telling us how they're experiencing it. That's like one main thing I would want in the US, but I think it's like the start of many other changes that can happen once we sort that one topic out.
That's really good. I did not expect that answer.
Has nothing to do with sustainability, right?
yeah. But I think it is vital because again, like that, like we've seen how social media, we've seen how communication and information has been, misinformed and has been manipulated, and it's left a lot of people tragically, in situations that are hard or lose their lives, right? And it really just starts with, are we? Honestly, for me, when I think about that, because I think about that as a lot as somebody that has a media company and whatever, it's just like communication really starts with how you communicate with yourself and your higher power, whether you are a believer in whatever, but like or your higher self, right? Because again, it's a constant, because so many people are battling with communicating an honest, authentic picture of themselves, right? The lower and the higher self. Then that just is enforcing the world through whoever has the means of of who holds the most control and power.
Yeah, so I love that. And then communication starts at the self. Like that's, I'm going to write that down. That's good. Thank you. Yeah. And then I guess like going back into how the idea of communication relates back to what RE.STATEMENT's doing, right? Even when you just look on Twitter, reading the conversation between fast fashion and slow fashion, and then how that compares with people's privilege or their experiences with access to sustainable options and stuff like that. Like there are so many different points of views on this one topic alone in the sustainable fashion world.
Yeah.
And who am I to say that anyone's wrong, anyone's right? Like, who am I to say that, you know, bamboo is good or bad? Because I've heard both. I've heard both answers for it. But just really trusting that people aren't trying to harm the planet. People are trying to help, and we just need to make it easier for them to help. Like that's one mindset I have. Whereas when you go on Twitter, it's like this person's against this person against this person, and everyone's against Shein, of course. But you know, no one reaches the market value they had without millions of other people's support. So lots of questions there, but information and communication are by far one of the first things that I'd want to change in the U.S.
That's really good. Thank you for sharing.
Absolutely.
And now I'm hearing echo. But okay, there we go. We good.
Okay.
So one of my last questions for you are, what are 3 things that you've learned this month?
I have to look this up. I'm gonna look this up.
You're gonna look up the 3 things that you've learned this month?
No, because I like to take notes of lots of things. So I have to look up, I have to look up like everything I've texted myself, everything that I've like kept notes with myself, any memes that I've saved. 3 things. And please don't expect them to be things that, you know, you can take away and carry on with your life, because there's no promising.
No, and again, there's no bias, there's no judgment. It's just again, what are 3 things that you've learned and that you personally learned this month?
Yeah.
The question I've started asking, like, you know, myself and also like my colleagues and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just really curious, like, yo, what have you learned this month? And it makes people think, like, what have I learned?
Yeah, no, because I'm like, I know I've been learning things. Let me pull up the notes I've been taking, or let me pull up. Oh my gosh. Oh nope, that's my defensive driving course.
Well, we learned that Hannah's taking a defensive driving course, so she might have gotten a ticket.
I finished. I submitted it just in time. Let me find my other notes. This is so bad. Oh my god.
Don't worry, it's all casual. It's a vibe.
Yeah, I mean, let's see. I have learned. I guess this bounces off communication, right? But I learned that I don't really think in words. At least I don't know if I ever have.
Yeah.
Communication is especially hard for me, which is maybe why I'm always on the lookout for it in the US. But
Yeah.
I learned that, you know, sometimes you can say something to yourself a million times, iterate on it a million times, and people still will have no idea what it is that you're trying to say. And this comes from a pitch deck that I was putting together and iterating on the script that I'm writing out for that, and just realizing that sometimes I'm saying things that make a ton of sense in my head because, you know, I'm saying them for a reason. But then when you read them again after you go to sleep and wake up in the morning, you read it again, or read it to a friend or something like that, it does not make sense in their heads, or the frameworks that they had doesn't match the framework that you have. So that's been a big work in progress learning experience I've had in the last week. So that's probably thing number 1. I learned that skywriting planes are really expensive. They're like $2,000. And the context behind that is RE.STATEMENT had their first upcycling contest. And again, also new to social media or public social media. And that's been probably the monster of my days, where it's just like, it should not take me an embarrassingly like 2 hours to make a TikTok. Like that's horrible. But I was like, how should I announce the winners? Like, should I just go live with this? Should I just make a post about it? Or should I show up to their houses? Should I get a skywriting plane? And of course, everyone voted skywriting plane. And I'm like, how much can they cost, right? $2,000, 2,000, like $2,400, $2,500 on average. That, yeah, not that's not going to sit well with me. So we axed that. So we just went with the classic social media post. So I'd say that's thing number two. And then let's see, learning a lot about WooCommerce. And the stories that people have using it. I'm a non-technical founder, but when people ask me who's my technical founder, I say me, because it's like I'm all I have right now. But God forbids that I make the mistake of going to Shopify for the 20th time, right? But I was like, let's try something new. Let's try WooCommerce. And I'm really excited about all the customizations and long-term plugins that I can use to really make the restatement experience the ideal one that has people basically building or engineering this circular economy that so many very technical industries have been trying to figure out. But honestly, I think it needs to start from the demand or starts with the buyers.
That's awesome. Wow.
I feel like three things are bad. I feel like I need to come back.
No. Oh wait, you felt what was bad?
I feel like my three things are bad. I'm like, I feel like I learned way cooler things than that.
No. That's really that's very insightful, because I didn't know that a skywriting plane had cost that much. I didn't know about WooCommerce and what the features it is. I didn't know that you came up that your experience. I've learned from you. So no, that's the whole point of the pod. We to learn from each other, and wow. Thank you for sharing. For real. Thank you.
Oh my God. No, you're so sweet. Thank you.
Yeah. So my last question is, what do you want your legacy to be, if you want one?
Yeah. I think the older I get, the more okay I am with not having a legacy. Mostly, this is so twisted. This comes from, number one, like I set myself up for disappointment just in case. But then on the flip side is just like, sometimes I'm like, whether I want it or not, like I'm going to have a legacy. And sometimes that's not well within my control of what that's going to be. And maybe that's for the best. So I think the idea of not wanting a legacy stems from those two ideas. Ultimately, my legacy would live on to the people that I've connected with in this lifetime. And the ideas, the products, the designs, like all the things that we can pass on in this planet. But ultimately, if, I die tomorrow, that's fine too. Like that's very, oh, who's calling me? but that's totally fine too. I feel like it's a little dark, but it comes from a ton of, like some people call it nihilist optimism. But that's where it all comes from, where it's just like, again, you're so confident in your own success. You're so confident in the life that you get to live, whether it lasts or not, before, during, or after you're alive in this lifetime. Doesn't matter. You had fun.
That's beautiful. Wow. Hannah, this is the last segment of the show where I call the Speak Life segment, where I speak life over my guests, because I feel like, words sticks, how they say sticks to stones may break my bones, but words would never hurt me. But I think words build. I'm a big believer in words, and, just speaking life is really important. So here it goes. Hannah, you one cool chick. I'm really, really grateful for you, of your ambition, your drive, and what you're building, and how you are continuing to live literally your LinkedIn tag. You only have one, something around the lines of your life is too big in order not to do the things in this lifetime. You are embodying that each and every day just to do this conversation. I resonated and I'm moved by the time when we met at the Ion, but most importantly, I'm just taken aback and honored and humbled by your work ethic, your dedication, your humility, your understanding, your nuance, and you even being brave enough and taking the courageous step to move forward with what you're building and what you're doing. It's not easy, and most people always might think, I wish I could have done that. But you are, I'm going to do that anyway, no matter what comes. Whether I fail, whether I succeed, at least I've done it and I tried. And because of that, I'm moved and I'm inspired by you, by the fact that you are trying, you are doing, you are building, and you're being your authentic self and you're growing and learning. So thank you for this opportunity to be able to share this time and space, our most valuable assets that we can ever have, and energy, in order to share your story and your life. So I'm very grateful.
Oh my gosh, Tanaka, thank you so much. Can you write me a reference letter? Can you? Like, I'm just gonna write down every single thing you just said there, put it in a legal document, have you sign it, and it's gonna be my get it out of jail free card. But no, thank you so much. That means a lot to me. And hey, here's to first of many awesome podcasts, right? Like,
Yeah.
and I already know that your podcast is doing super well, going to continue to be doing super well. And whatever it is your goals are, like, I hope to keep in touch and keep each other motivated. Remember what we said about cool people? You're definitely a cool person. So let's keep this connection going.
Yeah, man. You got my number, so it is what it is.
Yep.
It's cool.
Yeah.
Anyway, where can the people find you at? Plug yourself. Where can people find you at? Where can people see world?
Yeah. So I know I said I recently went public on social media. So the usernames for that are re.statement for Instagram and TikTok, and then Twitter is shop restatement, all one word. You'll see my face on there. I'm on my phone way too often for my liking. So if you message me, it'll be my perfect excuse to pull away from whatever Spanish TikTok video I'm watching, just so I can respond to you. So please contact me through there. LinkedIn, you can find me, Hannah Emily, on there as well. And then, of course, my website is shoprestatement.com. So if you or anyone you know is either interested in cool clothes, unique clothes that makes you stand out, create the impression that you want to have, or you care about sustainable clothing, apparel that is different from your beige, boring, slow fashion thoughts that you think of when you think of slow fashion, please visit shoprestatement.com and get your email on the wait list, because I think email is going to be the only way you'll be notified about the batch launches that we'll have coming out.
All right. Thank you for sharing. Anyway, this episode of Campus Cuts is done.